everyone. It's Caroline and
Mira, and hello and welcome to another episode of Women's Wisdom Hub. Welcome. In today's episode, it's all about how we can turn our pain into and transform it into power, resilience, and growth. So we're going to be talking to you about how are we going some strategies around this and how women are able to transform their pain into power. Maybe we can start with a little bit about defining what do we mean by pain and power in this context.
so when we're talking about pain, when we're talking about pain, we're talking about emotional pain, physical pain, psychological pain, and that's something that we as women and men too experience during our life. It would be naive to think that we never experience pain, and it can be a common challenge that we experience some kind of pain during our life. It's one of the challenges that we have to deal with as women, and that can be heartbreak. So from sort of losses or relationship breakdowns, we can feel pain at loss if we have any career setbacks or if we fail at anything in terms of our professional life. Societal pressures on us to be the perfect wife, mother, friend, colleague. If we don't measure up to that, can cause us some kind of psychological pain. So I guess that's what we're talking about when we're talking about pain. And we can feel it physically. It can be really a physical thing that we feel that pain. What we wanted to talk today about is even when we experience that really strong visceral pain, that we can kind of use that pain and we can grow from that to transform our lives. So that's the definition of pain as we're seeing it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carol. And when it comes to power and what we mean by that, I think in this context of this video, power would equate to any transformation that we make after experiencing any challenges or adversity, I suppose. It could be resilience. The more we actually become resilient after surviving something, and maybe not just surviving it, but even thriving from adversity. Any transformation we make from any or psychological pain, and we come at the other end of it, the desired, and we feel empowered to carry on. That's what power, I suppose, in this context means. So power is any transformation and the potential to grow from any struggles we experience. And I think you probably notice, all of you, we've got the lovely Oprah Winfrey picture here with us today. I think she's here, maybe present with her spirit, because we just thought when we were thinking, me and Karu putting this podcast together, we just thought about who would be one of the female celebrities that would represent the story, a bit of inspiration of some of her sort of pain, especially around her childhood trauma, into power and sort of flourish. And it's just Oprah Winfrey came first to our minds, especially if we, maybe a lot of us know the childhood trauma Oprah experienced, and especially in relation to the sexual abuse and trauma, sadly, she suffered from when she was a young girl, and other sort of adversity she's faced up with. And I know many of you watched some of the interviews, the well-known interviews with Oprah, when she opened up and talked about her childhood trauma. I think one of the things that always stood out for me when Oprah talked about it is that how she realized that the power is in forgiveness, and how she managed to find some internal peace when she forgave. It's not forgiving the people who were part of her suffering. It's more forgiving sort of that side of her life and that sort of memories, and accepting knew her, and that gave her a lot of power to accomplish the things that she's accomplished nowadays. So I think definitely Oprah Winfrey stand out as an inspirational story for a lot of women when we think about the transformation from pain to power and resilience. So I think what we wanted as well in this episode, we wanted it to be also helpful in terms of giving you some practical tips and strategies into how we women can transform any pain or challenges we have into a sort of power. And I'm going to leave you with Caroline, because I think Caroline, she's got a few of these lovely strategies for you to share.
Thank you, Amira. And saying that Oprah Winfrey is inspirational, isn't she, with all that she's been through, and is someone that most people can relate to. And as you were talking, Amira, I was also thinking of, obviously, with my therapy background, just some of the women that I've had the privilege to work with and their own stories, which has involved a lot of trauma, and how they've managed to transform from that and build a life and start again and feeling empowered and all of that stuff. So it's definitely possible, and what we wanted to talk to you about, really. So yes, so we can use our pain, and myself and Amira, obviously we're women, we're not exempt from pain. We've both experienced pain in our life, like most women do at some stage. So we can use our pain as a motivator for personal growth. That could be something like starting a new project that you maybe have been putting off, thinking maybe now's not the right time because I've been going through all this stuff. But is there ever a right time? I think that's something that I often question myself about. Is there a right time to start a new project? But we can use that pain as a real motivation to start a new project, to pursue a goal that you might want to pursue. And it doesn't have to be a big goal. It could just start off with being something small. It could be going for a walk, or going to the gym, or deciding to go to bed earlier, or just eating a bit healthier. That could be an example of pursuing a goal. It doesn't have to necessarily be a big goal to start with, but we can always build on smaller goals into bigger goals. A bigger goal example could be something like deciding that you might want to retrain in your career and do something else. Or if you work for an organization, that you might think, what I was talking about on another podcast, where it's about what life stage you're at, and if you want a job that fits around you rather than you having to fit around a job if you've got childcare responsibilities, etc. So that could be an example of a bigger goal. You're thinking about getting a new job, or even retraining in a different career. And an example, I guess, would be of pain is someone that can turn, I'm sure we've all had our hearts broken here and there, but maybe we can turn the heartbreak into an opportunity to focus on our self-care and fitness. I guess rather than going over and over what's happened and maybe blaming ourselves for we should have done this or we could have done that and then maybe this wouldn't have happened, but maybe we can have some more positive thoughts around, let's use that heartbreak to motivate me to do something, to focus on self-care and fitness. So building our support system is really helpful. I guess in a way, maybe it does sound obvious, but I think especially women, in my experience, we do need a support system of like-minded women. And Amira and I were saying on another podcast that if we're having a difficult day, that we might ring each other up and have a rant and say, oh my God, look what's happened today. And it really is important to have a good support system around you. I think especially for women, just to encourage you, to uplift you. And if you don't have that support system, maybe that could be something that you think of as a goal, to develop that support system. If you're a mum, it might be that you see another mum on the school run that you quite like. It could be that you develop that relationship with them and maybe go for a coffee, have a laugh. And I think it's also important to try and surround ourselves with people that are our cheerleaders, that we do find positive and uplifting, rather than with people that bring us down and make us feel negative about ourselves, because that's not really helpful, is it, for us, for motivating ourselves?
No,
so I guess
absolutely.
surrounding ourselves with uplifting and encouraging people, male or female, even seeking therapy, sometimes that might be something that we might need to do. And I suppose I'm thinking particularly about if we've had heartbreak or if we've experienced some trauma, and we might try and sort it ourselves. But sometimes we can't sort it ourselves. Sometimes it is really helpful to talk to a therapist, and that's okay. Therapy is, well, Amira and I are both therapists, and obviously we've trained as therapists, and we've seen the benefits of patients that we've worked with and how well they've done with therapy. So you may be considering therapy could be an option, or joining a community
Absolutely. And
group.
if someone absolutely out there, actually, we're happy, me and Caroline, to put on the description at the end of this video of some of the trusted therapy services for you, and the link for their websites if you wanted to refer yourself. Obviously, your GPs as well. That's another sort of referring you to sort of National Health Services, IAP services. That's another option for you. But it's also, Caroline, when you said about sort of using that pain to transform it into much more actionable. And you've mentioned about self-care and maybe started to involve in some activities. It straight away came to my mind, because I think we have to acknowledge when we experience pain, there is a lot of negative energy inside us. Sometimes it could be sadness mixed with fear and anxiety. Sometimes it could be anger, especially ending relationships, a breakdown of relationships. We might sort of feel as a human some of the anger and sadness and fear of the future and the change of our social status. So it's really important to pay attention to how our body also feeling. So a physical activity, even doing things in the house. I remember I've never even painted in my whole life. And after my divorce, I started painting the house. But I realized I was feeling angry and I wanted to get a lot of that negative energy out of me. So I went into the paint shop and I got all the equipment and I started painting the house. And at the end of the day, I felt physically tired, but I released a lot of the energy. So sometimes it's helpful to actually think about how we want to regulate that energy and release it. Because if we
Yeah.
don't, it will just turn into depression and anxiety, and it can turn into other harmful sort of behaviors that we don't really want.
Definitely. As I was speaking to you, I think, not going into detail, but sort of the past year, I've kind of felt more creative. And that's something that I haven't felt for many years. And all of a sudden, my creativity's come out and I've started writing and I've written a little journal and stuff. And I'm thinking, gosh, where's that come from? It just suddenly, I just had this urge to pick up a pen and start writing. And I haven't had that for years. And well, I suppose I can share that I've sort of gone through a bit of a bereavement in the past year, and just the writing has really helped with that. And I can't stop being creative. Some people are cooking. I love cooking. I find that really creative. So I guess there's different ways, isn't there, of releasing that energy, that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the main thing is to recognize it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel anxious and fearful of what's going to happen. It's acknowledging these negative emotions first. I think we don't want to avoid them or deny they're there, acknowledging them, but sort of explore how we're going to be able to regulate them, I suppose, in a helpful way, isn't it? So I guess what the main important things what we're looking at from today is understanding that pain is part of life. We all at some points we're going to experience challenges, adversities, and painful times of our life. So pain is part of life. We can't escape it, but it does not define us as a woman at all. And that resilience is something that we build and power by reframing our mindset, and a little bit what Caroline was talking about earlier about reframing it from why this is happening to me into what can I learn from this. So it always starts resilience. I think the first step to it is by reframing our mindset. And always remembering, I think the quote, you may not control what happens to you, but you can control your response to it. I think that always stand out for me personally. You can't control, there's a lot of uncertainty in life, and we can't control what happens to us, but we can control our response to it. So really, we hope that this video is helpful in any way to any of you out there who are listening to us, me and Caroline. Please share your views with us. Use the comment section and tell us your thoughts, your experiences. If you disagree on anything that we also mentioned, that's absolutely welcome as well to point out, and reflect on what pain in your life at the moment that you have actually working actively to turn it into growth and power, and what actually pain maybe in the past you've managed to turn it into power, and maybe you would like to share that with us as well. So we do hope that you found this episode helpful in any way, and we look forward to be speaking to you in a different episode as well.
Thank you, everyone. We've really enjoyed talking to you.
Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in a new episode. Bye-bye.